Welcome back to Columbus. The NCAA Men's Gymnastics Championship made up of 6 teams, 6 rotations, and Bart, there's 6 gymnasts per team, and they just need the top 4 scores so they can drop the 2 bottom scores. And no perfect 10s like in your day, the Olympic scoring rules.
That's what they call open-ended scoring, which is a combination of difficulty and execution scores. And so a good score today is something in that 14 to 16.5 range.
And we mentioned the Oklahoma Sooners, number 1 in the country on the vault. This is Alex Nador. 14 individual career titles, 6 this season. He's only a sophomore. Moments ago, Ian Jackson was on the vault. Ian Jackson, his high score is 16.1 against Cal. He had a 16.0 in qualifying.
Now, Ian Jackson has had problems with his Achilles tendon this year. He hasn't been able to do the repetitions, and this is disastrous. He went for a very difficult vault, but that crash cost at least a point for the fall. So the Sooners are better than every other team in the nation on vault, but they're going to need to be consistent here.
This is Nador.
Oh, that was nice. Good job. Nador was really a pommel horse specialist that has really developed into quite a balanced all-around gymnast. He's had a hand injury this year that slowed him up a little bit, but that's a handspring laid out front with a double twist and good control clutch on the landing.
He had a 16.1 at the conference championship, 16.25 in qualifying.
Maximum score on that vault is a 16.6. But it's most important to put those vaults on your feet in this team final. You can't afford a major error.
There's Glenn Ishino now from Cal over on the floor.
Ishino is an amazing gymnast for Cal. He's a very balanced all-around performer. But he has really struggled this year with injuries. He's a real workhorse in the gym. But his handguard broke this year at a competition in February, and he slipped off the bar and jammed his back. And he's essentially competing with a ruptured disc in his back. He's in a lot of pain. Oh!
You mentioned at the top of the broadcast that Cal might be battling to stay afloat as far as their gymnastics program, but it's not set in stone yet.
That's right. This, by the end of April, it will be decided by the chancellor of University of California at Berkeley whether they retain the men's gymnastics program. So Tim McNeil, in addition to coaching his team, is hoping to raise $4 million this month, and certainly a lot of the gymnastics community wishes him well, and many of us are supporting him. Ishino is a very determined gymnast, a real machine in the gym, and it's been a shame this year that he hasn't been able to be at his top strength because of this injury to his back.
As a team, the Golden Bears, number 5 on the floor. Number 1 on the parallel bars, 2 on the horse and the high bar, so a very competitive team.
The floor routines are a little bit different than they were last year. Last year there was an open time, so you could be out there for 2 minutes, but now you only have 70 seconds to complete a floor routine, and a great triple twist at the end for Ishino.
Let's go back to the vault now with the Oklahoma Sooners.
And boy, could this be a highlight. Jake Dalton. He's going to do a round-off backflip with a triple twist. Oh, my goodness. That is just insane. Now, yesterday in the qualifying round, he just drilled it, scored a 16.8 out of a maximum of 17.
And that's insane, right?
Incredible. Look at the height, a round-off and triple twist, and he lands just a little out of line, but the difficulty value will make sure he gets a big score.
There's Josh Dixon now from Stanford over on the parallel bars. Senior from San Jose, California. We mentioned Stanford, number 2 in the country, but winning the MPSF championship over Oklahoma.
He's a very balanced all-around gymnast. He's a pretty tall guy, but he's a very cool competitor, calm, and according to head coach Tom Gleamy at Stanford, says if he does well in practice, he'll do well in the meet. Stanford had an outstanding effort in the qualifying round on parallel bars, their high score of the season yesterday.
Here's Penn State now over on the high bar.
Wasif Burbar will be up next.
Penn State back in the field after a 2-year absence. So when you count all the national championships, the Nittany Lions have 12, and that is the most in the country.
This is a solid, clean routine and a clean event for Penn State. They are looking for good angles, and the judges are making sure that all those pirouetting skills finish near handstand. That's how you can get a big score in addition to doing high difficulty. So far, this has not been a great event for Penn State. Matt Chelberg at a low 12.15. Their high score over there is Aronovich with a 14.35.
Nittany Lions come in ranked number 5 in the country on this apparatus. Their high team score for the year, 59.3.
Beautiful move. That's called a full Takamoto. To release move over the bar. A lot of gymnasts are using that combination. Takamoto to a laid out Veronin. Very high release move. Caught it right on the end of his fingertips. Well, I like this. He really hangs it out there. He's a big, tall, long gymnast. That's a good body style for the high bar work. Really swings it nice. A lot going on here simultaneously. Oklahoma's vaulter, Stephen Legendre, will be up. Legendre could be a highlight for the meet. He does the most difficult vault in the competition. Double front with a half. Oh, no! What a shock.
Legendre with a 16.15 during the qualifying here in Columbus.
This is amazing. Now, he is such a solid competitor. Rarely does he make a mistake. He had really a lousy pre-flight onto the vaulting table, and he did all he could to try to pull that around and put it down, but that's a major deduction on the landing. Not what the Sooners needed on their best event to start this competition.
Let's go back to the parallel bars now with Stanford. This is Nicholas Noon, the redshirt senior. Picked up two of his 4 All-American honors last year at West Point, placing 4th on this apparatus.
And he has put, oh my goodness, a rare mistake for Nick Noon. He's very, very methodical. He's a very polished gymnast and typically very consistent. He was outstanding in the qualifying round yesterday.
With a 15.15 at the conference meet. That was his best of the season leading up to this competition in Columbus.
Oh my goodness, what a start. This is shocking. The 2 best teams on great events for them are having disasters. This is amazing. Now, yesterday, everybody from Stanford scored over 15 points on parallel bars, which is remarkable. That was their season best. But today, they already have 2 scores in the 14s, and that score for Noon will be a disappointment. What a shock for the 2 top teams in the country to start so poorly.
Well, these are the national championships. You look at the Final Four even in basketball. Some teams struggle putting the ball in the hole. Are butterflies playing a part here?
It's hard to say. They were both very clean and coolly competed through the qualifying yesterday. I just don't understand this.
So Michigan's Chris Cameron earlier on the pommel horse. Now, some teams prefer to start on the horse. Some teams prefer to finish it. As you have pointed out so astutely, that this is a very difficult apparatus to score on. Chris Cameron, last year's national champion as far as the all-around.
He's really had a rough year this year. Competed for the U.S. team at the World Championships in the fall. Did not have a great experience there, and I think it's affected his confidence. Oh, look at that. A little mistake at the start of the routine. You think he's got it going here. Starts to pick up the rhythm, swinging nicely here. And this, of course, is one of his specialties, these spindled flares on the leather, not even using the pommels, and traveling down the length of the horse. This is what he's well known for. But watch what happens here. On a relatively simple move for him, he botches it, keeps the rhythm going, but obviously will incur a major deduction.
You mentioned his confidence after the World Championships. Boy, that can just play havoc with an athlete, any sport.
Well, he has just not had a very good season, and a rough start for the former NCAA all-around champion right there.
And let's go back to the parallel bars now with the Stanford Cardinal. Stanford opened the season ranked number 1, Bart. Now, Coach Galimi said that they want to get to the point at this juncture when they arrived in Columbus, Ohio, that they are significantly better than the rest of the field when they arrived. You know, obviously winning the national championship is their #1 goal. They said they increased their depth and the difficulty in a lot of their routines. Have you seen that this year?
Yes, he has 6 seniors, and they're very experienced. They do, like Oklahoma, very difficult routines with very clean execution typically. And their philosophy really is, let's do the hardest routines, let's do them cleanly, and the difficulty will carry us to the championship. So that's kind of the philosophy of Tom Gilliamy.
So the Stanford Cardinal, champions in 2009. 3rd straight year they finished either 1 or 2 last year at West Point. 5 straight year the Cardinal finished at least 3rd, no lower than 3rd.
They need a strong score here from Foreman. Oh, very nice underbar work. That move's called a peach, where you swing below the bars. Really nice underbar swing movement. The judges look for moves that are above the bars, like this handstand type skill, moves that swing below the bars, like this, called a tip out, invented by a famous German gymnast. The score for Nick Noon was a low 13-4. So a really uncharacteristic start for Stanford on what is typically a very good event for them. Foreman had a 14.85, which is a respectable score yesterday. They'll need something like that today.
Wrapping up the first rotation here in Columbus, Ohio. We'll update the scoreboard when we come back. Back in Columbus, as expected, after the first rotation, Oklahoma leading the scoring with 64. But Bart, in the qualifying, they were 65 plus. Their high score was 65.35 this year. So how much did that hurt the Sooners?
Well, it certainly wasn't a great start for the Sooners. They're 1.2 behind pace where they were in qualifying, but Stanford did poorly on parallel bars as well. They're 1.7 behind their pace. Illinois had a great start on the rings. They're 7/10 of their pace, ahead of their pace from the qualifying.
Well, Stanford moves to the high bar now. They are #1 in the country on this apparatus, and this is Tim Gentry, the Cardinal co-captain and co-gymnast of the year in the MPSF with Stephen Legendre of Oklahoma.
He's also a Nissen Award nominee with Legendre, a very bright young man, a very focused, intense athlete, and a great example in the gym.
Team-wise, Stanford on this event, #1 in the country with a 6.0.8.
They had a good effort from Ryan Lieberman on this event, 14.75. A poor performance for Paul Hischwa. Cameron Foreman, a 14.2, was just a little improvisation in his routine before. Gentry is typically very steady and consistent. It's a little bit of a botched combination there. Oh, short of that handstand. Luckily he made it. I thought he was going to come up short and have to go back the wrong way. He's very clean on those pirouetting skills. Good form. No big release moves like the rest of the gymnasts.
So Tim Gentry, his high score, 15.0 this year. As we go over to the parallel bars now with Oklahoma, Jacob Dalton. He is #1 on this event, #1 on the vault, #2 on the floor, #4 on the high bar.
Yeah, and he might very well be just the best all-around gymnast in the United States right now. He is a very complete, balanced gymnast. High level of difficulty. He's one of those kids that's just flat-out gifted. And he's really polished his execution a little bit better this year. Head coach Mark Williams at Oklahoma has been working with him on that aspect of his gymnastics. Nice. He's such an acrobat. He's like a cat. Wherever he's flipping, he somehow knows how to get onto his feet.
Jacob Dalton, only a sophomore, 21 titles this year for this Oklahoma Sooner.
He is the heir apparent to that Stephen Legendre, no question.
Another superstar in the long lines of superstars for Oklahoma, along with the Bart Connors and Jonathan Hortons. And, of course, as you mentioned, Stephen Legendre. horse. This is Cal's Dennis Manhart, a sophomore from Switzerland. You saw him limping up, kind of hobbling up to the horse.
It's an amazing story. Yes, the last meet of the season, he tore 4 ligaments in his ankle, and so he needs surgery when this meet is over. He's normally a great 4 or 5 event contributor to Cal, but he can only do pommel horse here, and he's gutting through this routine. Nice difficulty, not great elevation above the horse. But a good finish. Now watch this. He literally hops away on 1 foot and picks up his crutches and goes to see his team. You talk about a commitment. His ankle is so badly damaged, he is limited, but still able to deliver a pommel horse routine.
14.25, they'll take that on the horse, huh?
Legendre now on parallel bars for Oklahoma. At the same time, Josh Dixon on high bar for Stanford. This is crazy. There's 6 events going simultaneously. Talk about a 6-ring circus.
Dixon's high score on that high bar. Back-to-back scores of 15.05 against Nebraska and Cal.
The score for Jacob Dalton was a 15-1, so a very respectable score. Oklahoma getting back on track on parallel bars. Let's see what Dixon can come up with. Whoa. Slung it out there, but stuck it cold.
For Josh Dixon, the senior from San Jose, California.
Tyler Mizuguchi now.
On the vault for Illinois.
My goodness. I can't believe he made that. The coaching staff at Illinois, Justin Spring and Ivan Ivankov, Luke Stannard, they said this is the kind of guy that gets so pumped up in the meet, we have to kind of tell him to calm down a little bit to be at his best.
He looked jacked up there, the junior from Houston, Texas. Number 7 in the country on the vault this year.
Well, he didn't have the best technique. In fact, very bad technique on the pre-flight of that vault. You're supposed to really arch your back and drive your heels. Watch, he does kind of a cannonball run. Right here, he tucks early. And, you know, just cannonballs it all the way in. But he's a gifted athlete. He found the floor. And that will still get a good score, even though the technique was a little bit off.
See Alex Buscaglia, a 4-time All-American. 3 of his 4 All-American awards have come on the high bar. The other on the floor. He's ranked number 1 on the high bar with a 16.3. His previous collegiate best, a 15.55.
Here are the scores. You can see Josh Dixon's 14-9, a good effort there. And they'll need a strong routine out of Buscaglia. 6 scores, just the top 4 count towards a team effort. Buscaglia is just spectacular on this event.
The individual champion at the conference championships with a 15.60. Also won 2 gold medals at the Pan American Championships in Mexico over the summer. Team gold and individual gold on the high bar.
I asked Coach Glealme about him, and he said he's one of those kind of guys that brings his lunch pail to the gym every day. He's a worker. Very high combination. Beautiful. Boy, does he hang it out there. There's that Takamoto to that laid out Veronin release move that you see all the guys do. But boy, that was big. Incredible. Layout reverse heck to a Ginger. Huge back-to-back release combination. And you get extra points when you connect release moves.
And Bart, when he scored that 16.3 this year, that was the highest score in the nation on this apparatus this season.
And a clutch routine for Stanford when they needed it on high bar. Wow. Boy, I just love how he swings with reckless abandon. That's just big. Look at that. Laid out reverse heck to a Ginger. And he is just skying it. Look at how aggressive he taps for this on the double layout with a double twist. Great job for Stanford there. Boy, they needed that routine.
Well, we're wrapping up The second rotation here in Columbus, Ohio at the NCAA Men's Gymnastics Championships. We'll update that scoreboard when we come back. And Illinois, the three-time defending Big Ten champs, having a pretty good meet at this juncture.
They sure are. They had a great meet in qualifying yesterday, and they're 1.6 ahead of that pace. They're doing terrific. Cal is also having an outstanding meet, 7/10 ahead of their pace. And Oklahoma and Stanford, two of our favorites, are well below their pace from yesterday's qualifying round.
A lot of gymnastics remaining, but keep in mind, Illinois, they might embrace the fact that they have the horse to finish up. Most teams dread that apparatus.
That's a good point.
This is Donovan Bailey, the sophomore from Lake Forest, California, for the Golden Bears of Cal. And this in itself could be a great story here tonight.
Oh, it sure is. Cal, the key story right there is the fact that none of the other top teams have been to the Pommel Horse yet, and Cal survived it beautifully. Donovan Bailey's had an incredible year, and he really carried the whole team this year in the all-around because of all the injuries that they've suffered. He's been the one solid, consistent guy they could count on.
One of three Golden Bears to be named the Gymnast of the Week in the MPSF. And when you look at it, they opened up with a victory over Stanford when Stanford was #1.
Right.
When you look at the Gold Country Classic, they beat Stanford again, so really they have two victories over
And look at this, double twisting double. These guys are on fire. And Donovan Bailey's the kind of kid that could be a future national team member. He's a very complete gymnast. Really impressed with this young man.
Let's go to the floor. Alex Buscaglia of Stanford, another one of these gymnasts, racked up several individual titles in his career.
As I mentioned, Stanford just struggling a little bit. 1.7 behind their qualifying score in P-bars. 1/10 of a point behind their high bar pace.
Buscaglia, four-time All-American. His high score on the floor, 15.60.
According to Coach Tom Glealme, this is the deepest team they've ever had, and he said also the tightest team they've ever had. 6 seniors, they've been together a long time. Very focused group of young men.
Well, he was saying before the season started that he probably has 18 gymnasts that could make an impact on the team. That's pretty deep, isn't it?
And the team, they can travel 15 to the major meets. Even Michigan has a large lineup of 23 athletes, so it's good to have that kind of depth because, as we've seen and heard, there's so many injuries in this sport at this elite level that you need a whole bunch of horses in the barn if you're going to have a chance to compete. Buscaglia is very strong. He really has the combination of good power and technique, which you need to do well on floor exercise. We mentioned that Stanford won the conference championship. If you look at the history, 4 times they've won the Mountain Pacific Conference Championship. They followed that up by winning the national title.
Good points. They're hoping history repeats itself here in Columbus in 2011. Mentioned earlier, Buscaglia, 3 of his 4 All-American awards have come on the high bar, the other on this event right here on the floor.
Big dismount, an Arabian double front. A lot of difficulty in that routine. That should score well. Clean landings.
Let's go to the high bar now, where the Oklahoma Sooners, Stephen Legendre.
Boy, this guy can really fly these big release moves. Watch this. First one is a double back with a full twist. It's called a Coleman, and he hangs it out there. Look at this one, even higher. Pike open. And how about one more for good measure in tuck position?
Mentioned earlier, Legendre, the winner of this year's Nissen Emery Award. 69 individual titles for the senior.
He has a strained forearm. He strained it at a U.S. national team camp a few weeks ago, so he did not do high bar in the qualifying round. And Coach Mark Williams told me in the 4 years he's had Stephen on his team, he's never once been injured. So this injury has affected the confidence of the team a little bit.
14.80 for Steven Legendre. On the high bar is a high score, 15.65 for Cal. Sam McCulloch now for the Michigan Wolverines on the vault. They say this young man, freshman of the year and the gymnast of the year in the Big Ten, has no weaknesses.
And this kid is raw potential. That's the same vault we saw from Jake Dalton, the triple twister, and I see a great future for that young man on the world and Olympic team. He's that good.
Talk about futures. How about this young man here, Eddie Penev? Exciting, true freshman last year, won the national title on the vaults with a 16.45. Here he is on the floor for Stanford.
He's another one of those gymnasts that has struggled with an injury. You can see his heavily taped right ankle that has really limited his work this year. He doesn't quite have the same stability in the landings. At least he didn't yesterday in the qualifying round. Let's see what he can do here. Very nice. Double, twisting, double.
Alex Pascalia has a 15.3 on the floor for Stanford.
Oh, nice combination tumbling moves. Now, this is the rare gymnast that has both the power and the finesse and style. He really is clean. And not only is he a great twister, you notice how efficiently he twists those moves, but he can connect those with other skills, and you get additional bonus points when you connect, let's say, a whip back into a twisting somersault. And yet he still has the power to do something like that, an Arabian double somersault towards the end of the routine. This is just great. 1.5 to a front double twist. There's another combination. This could be a huge score because we're talking major degree of difficulty. Here should be a triple twister. Oh my goodness. What a highlight for the Cardinal.
You mentioned that injury. 16 on the floor last year, 15.35 is his high this year.
We talked about his great technique in twisting. Watch this triple full. He just hangs it up, and it's like he dropped out of the ceiling. Nice technique.
Eddie Penev walks off the floor with a big smile on his face. We're in Columbus, Ohio at the National Championships. We'll update the scores when we come back. All jacked up for their pommel horse routine, where they're ranked number 4 in the country. You see the scores now. Illinois still sitting on top of the leaderboard. 183.30, followed by Stanford and Oklahoma. Eddie Penev had a 15.95 on his floor routine. That pushed Stanford's score 62.45. Their high this year was a 61.40. I'm with Bart Connor, who won 2 golds and a perfect 10 at the '84 Olympics. Mike Gleason, great to have you with us. And take a look at the Home Depot coaching clinic now. You talk about the evolution of the sport of gymnastics.
Right.
And what teams need to be successful right now?
Well, all sports evolve, but definitely these days, power is the name of the game in men's gymnastics. Coaches have to recruit athletes and develop that power, especially on the 2 events that are the highest scoring events in gymnastics. That's the floor exercise and the vault. Let's take a look back at a video from the '78 World Championships. This is Kurt Thomas, the U.S. World Champion. Now, many years ago, the gymnasts were rewarded for finesse, strength, artistry, and acrobatics. And today's rules demand that the gymnasts just pack their routines with a series of big tricks, with very few of those nice artistic connections, combinations, linking the big tricks together. Now, after all, it's really kind of hard to quantify the value of artistry. And since artistry really doesn't pay, few gymnasts really focus on it. So these days, coaches must focus on the big trick and then hope that they can hit those big tricks as cleanly as possible to get a good score.
Abdi Ramani now, the redshirt junior out of Herndon, Virginia, getting ready to climb on that pommel horse for the Stanford Cardinal.
He's one of the team co-captains. He's a really strong 3 or 4 event guy. In qualifying, he scored a 14.75. Anybody who can score high 14s or 15 on pommel horse is just world class as far as I'm concerned. Look at the elevation over the pommels. This is good stuff. Good difficulty, but look at the great technique and form. He's very high as he travels over the pommels. Oh my goodness, he's fighting it. Man, he's gritting through this one. That's what you see from championship teams. Even when they hit the horse, they just keep cranking on. Good finish there. Could have been a big disaster, but he hung with it.
Strong finish for The junior from Virginia. His previous high 14.80 on this apparatus.
Stanford got back on track after a great floor exercise performance in the last rotation.
Let's go check on the Fighting Illini of Illinois on the high bar. Illinois ended the rotation with 183 and 3/10 points on top of the leaderboard.
This gymnast had some trouble in the qualifying round. He is spectacular on this event. Really hangs it out there. Let's see what he can deliver today. Coaches say he's a gamer. Oh, big. Is that full over with a double back with a full twist? A little sloppy on those catches. You can see some form breaks. He'll receive deductions for those, but boy, he's going for hard stuff. Oh, nice combination. That in-bar move where the hips are near the bar is one of the requirements of the apparatus high bar. All equipment in gymnastics has 5 event requirements that they have to show the judges. Nice dismount.
C.J. Padera, his career high 15.35.
Check this out. This is that Kovacs. This is double back over the bar. He caught a little close and had to break form. And you see a couple of other form breaks and leg separation there as well. A little sloppy, but very aggressive.
And we're back to the horse now with the Stanford Cardinal. Again, the Cardinal ranked number 4 as a team on this apparatus this year.
John Martin is outstanding on this event.
He's competed on the horse 7 times this year. Missed the meet at Michigan and the conference championship.
Look at that form and execution. Beautiful elevation over the horse. Oh, my goodness, he keeps fighting. Oh, my. He was going for a very difficult combination. Now, a fall in gymnastics these days is an entire point off the score. This is not good for Stanford. They got back in the swing of things on floor, but they were expecting to bag a big score here from John Martin. Back into the routine, traveling up and down. Oh, he went for a very difficult routine.
His best score this year, a 15.3, which is phenomenal on that apparatus. Brian Del Castillo of Cal going to the vault.
So impressed with the kind of competition that Cal is having today. And this is the highest scoring event for all the teams. Cal is doing extremely well. Langenstein has a 15.95. Christian Monteclaro, 16.15. Gene Monteclaro only a 15.15. And Cal has Del Castillo, and Ishino as its final 2 vaulters.
As a team, Cal ranking 5th in the nation on the vault.
Okay. A rather simple vault compared to some of the other competitors, but he has been hampered by injuries this year. This has a start value of 6.2.
Well, there's Stephen Legendre of Oklahoma on the floor.
Talk about the quality of gymnastics we're seeing today. This is a guy who competed on the World Championship team. He is definitely a contender for next year's Olympic team. About 2/3 of the U.S. national team is competing in this competition tonight for the various universities that they compete for. This is how good this gymnastics is. I mean, this is what you see at the Worlds and the Olympics. It's that good.
And Oklahoma has owned this event over the last 5 years. They've won this.
Mostly because of this guy. He is just insane here. Watch this mount.
Wow.
Incredible. And he does it effortlessly. Watch this one coming back. Arabian style, laid out, full twist at the end of an Arabian double front. Huge difficulty. You talk about the big trick gymnast. He's done 3 big tricks so far. And here comes a great combination, 2.5 to a front 1 3/4. This is a wide arm press handstand. A lot of gymnasts use this type move to fulfill one of the requirements, which is a non-acrobatic skill on the floor. But as I said earlier, it's all about power tumbling, and this guy's got it in spades.
How much right now at this point is it instincts, or how much is he thinking out there?
He's just a gifted tumbler, so he is so solid here. You just never worry about him. Some guys you're worried they're going to miss. Not with Legendre, especially on this event.
His individual high, 16.75.
Insane. A piked Arabian double front at the end and a big step. Still enormous degree of difficulty.
Stephen Legendre, the 2011 winner of the Nissen Emery Award.
Boy, that is just as good as it gets.
Glenashino now from Cal on the vault.
Oh, a little bit short there. That was also not the highest difficulty value, only 6.2. And we talked about how his back is killing him. He has not been able to do the type of repetition that he normally does in training. And I think it's showing here. He rested in qualifying yesterday, but he is beat up and in pain.
Glenashino, the Gymnast of the Year in the conference last year for Cal. We'll be back to Columbus right after this. Welcome back to Columbus and the 2011 NCAA Men's Gymnastics Championship. We've had 4 rotations, and now things will start to heat up. 2 rotations to go. Oklahoma on top of the board. Remember, Stanford will close on the vault, and Oklahoma is on the horse right now.
Stanford is down there in 4th place, but they'll come up on the highest scoring event at the end of the meet on vault, as you mentioned. Oklahoma, Mark Williams, head coach, said, our fate relies on whether we can hit the horse. And so far they have 2 hit routines from Raymond White and Jeremy Adams. 14-0 for Raymond White.
Adams had a 14.15.
And this could be a very important routine for the Sooners here, because Troy Nitsky is really clean. And remember, your score is a combination of your difficulty value as well as the execution value. And in that regard, he is good. In fact, they actually changed his routine after the conference championships and took out a move. Took out 2/10 of start value with the idea that let's go with a clean routine that you know you can hit every time. And that was a good choice today.
So Oklahoma, there's the early scores. So White's and Jeremy Adams. Troy Nitsky's high this year was at 14.45. Here's Donovan Bailey now, the sophomore for Cal over on the parallel bars.
A little bit of a bobble on that Tippelt. It looks like his leg hit the bar. That'll be a little bit of a deduction. Oh, an unusual stop. That move from the uprise position, called a honma, invented by a Japanese gymnast. And it looked like he had it, but just broke concentration.
Bailey, currently ranked number 7 on the parallel bars. Should point out Tim McNeil, the Cal's first-year coach, 5-time national champion, was named the Coach of the Year in the Mountain Pacific Sports Federation.
And not only is he a great coach, but he's also still training. He's potentially a member of next year's Olympic team.
As we move back to the pommel horse and the Oklahoma Sooners, they're ranked as a team number 3 in the country. Nishki has a 14.40.
Just what the Sooners need. In terms of pacing, the Sooners are about 2 points behind where they were in yesterday's qualifying round. But Stanford is more than 3 points behind where they were. Illinois is actually having the best meet for themselves. They're 1.5 points on pace ahead of where they were in the qualifying. Nice effort for Nador.
Over to the still rings now for the Stanford Cardinal. They're number 1 in the country on this apparatus. This is Nicholas Noon.
We saw him struggle on the parallel bars earlier. Very uncharacteristic. But this is an event where he's very clean. And, of course, you can see how strong he is. He has enormous control of the rings. All right, not the most difficult dismount. He gives up a little in difficulty there. But what they need is hit routines right now, especially since the Sooners are hitting on pommel horse.
Was he playing it safe there?
A little bit.
Let's go back to Cal. El Castillo.
Boy, this is such an amazing event for Cal, #1 in the country. There's that move, that Honma. That was done nicely. Look at that body line in the handstand. Good back toss to one rail.
Mark, you mentioned Cal, #1 on the parallel bars in the country. They won the conference championship by almost 2 points in this event.
Yeah, they're the class of the field on this event. Donphan Bailey, unfortunately, had only a 13.45. Eric Hausler, their high score there, 14.75. That'll score well.
Well, you mentioned Bailey's score. His high this year was a 15.30.
We talk about a power vaulter, tumbler type gymnast. That type of body style and that type of gymnast typically struggles on an event like the pommel horse. Here's Legendre off to a rough start there in that first scissor up to a handstand. He moved his hand off the pommel down to the leather. That will be a deduction.
This is one of the few events that he hasn't won.
It really is rare that a gymnast who's a powerful tumbler and vaulter has the body style that works well for swinging on pommel horse. A little shaky throughout that routine for Legendre. It was a hit, though.
We're in Columbus. We'll be back to continue rotation 5 of the championships right after this. Let's take a look now at the Capital One Cup standings update as teams compete for a $250,000 scholarship donation from Capital One. Right now, the Auburn Tigers sitting on top of the list with 70 points, just ahead of the Yukon Huskies. You see the Stanford Cardinal and the Golden Bears of Cal right there at 4th and 5th. Back in Columbus, still in rotation 5. We're on the pommel horse. This is the Oklahoma Sooners. The door.
He also made the same bobble that we've seen from 3 other gymnasts today. That scissor to handstand, he had to take his hand off the pommel and reach down to the end of the horse. He's very aggressive. There's a gymnast who hurt his hand in the offseason, really slowed him up. He's a very confident young man, has very high expectations for himself. Well, he's good on horse, but he will have a deduction for that opening move.
Oklahoma's high score, 59.25 on this apparatus this year.
That's that scissor to handstand. He's supposed to stay on those pommels. He reached down to the leather and went back up to the pommel. Rough mistake.
Kyle Buntalong, this is the first time seeing this all-star from the Cal Golden Bears. A senior from El Cerrito, California.
Typically a very good-looking gymnast to watch. Clean execution. Really one of the most talented gymnasts I've seen in a long time. There's a nice rhythm through his routines. That's just part of his style. It's something you can't really teach. And he's got it. Oh, big deduction on that hop of the landing. Cal's running out of gas over there a little bit.
Let's check out James Fosco now on the rings for Stanford.
Stanford #1 in the country on the rings. They're very strong. And as we mentioned, it's all about strength these days. Look at that position. Back roll around across.
The door just left the horse with a 14.9, just shy of a 15, so that's pretty impressive.
I really like that uprise to an inverted cross. And a move called a Yamawaki, a double front within the rings up to a Maltese cross. Nice stuff. You're required to show a strength move, of course, also a swing to a strength move, and that fulfilled this requirement. Now, he's hanging upside down a long time, and he can get a deduction. He's waiting for the swing of the rings to work in his favor, but if you hang there too long, you will get a deduction.
James Fosco, only a sophomore, ranked number 5 on the rings. He was second on the rings at the conference championship. Bart, let's check over the high bar now and check out Ian McCuskey of the Michigan Wolverines. McCuskey, a senior, invented a new skill on this apparatus.
Yeah, he's got a really cool move. It's this full Takamoto that we've seen other gymnasts do, but he does it with a hop, and he's the only one in the world that does it to this point. Let's see if he makes it here. It's pretty aggressive right here. In, hop, full turn. Nice. Great execution. And there's another one without the hop and that connection to that 2 release moves in a row. Nicely done. Boy, this is great. This young man has had just a fantastic career at Michigan, and he's one of those core 4 seniors that have really led this team to great results.
Yeah, Michigan finished 1-2-3 on the high bar at West Point last year when they won the national championship. It was Ryan McCarthy, McCuskey, and Mel Santander.
So all he's got left is a dismount. This is great. Oh, nice. Drilled it. And finishes with the He-Man pose. This is that combination. The laid out Veronin to the Ginger. 2 release moves back to back. And this dismount is a tucked double twisting double somersault. And you can't hardly land any better than that.
Back over on the parallel bars now, Glenn Ashino, the junior from Santa Ana, California.
He is so gifted that the U.S. team wants to keep him close because he could contribute to the world or Olympic team in the future. But he's really had struggles with injuries this year. You saw him wince in pain after his vault.
Oh, waiting for Glenn Ashino. Let's go over to the rings now. Here's Tim Gentry, one of the captains, co-captains for Stanford.
He is so strong on this event. And there's Ashino starting the parallel bars, the 6-ring circus. One of the best guys in the country on the rings at the same time as one of the best guys in the country on the parallel bars.
Gentry, while winning the rings at the conference championship, his score was nearly a half a point higher than his nearest competitor. Stanford actually finished 1-2-3 sweep on the rings.
Great finish for Ashino there. Once again, wincing in pain at the end. Gentry, he fell on this in the qualifying round, but he drilled it today, a laid-out double-double. I asked his coach, Tom Gleelmy, I said, are you going to change his routine for the finals? He said, we're going to do more difficulty. And I said, but he missed yesterday. He goes, he won't miss in the finals. This kid's tough.
Well, Gentry, the co-gymnast of the year in the conference. And we're headed for rotation 6. We're going to decide a national championship here in Columbus when we come back. Back inside St. John Arena, Bart Conner, here we go. Rotation 6, the Fighting Illini of Illinois. On top of the field, they're going to the horse, which they're #1 in the country. It's a low-scoring event. And here's Stanford now on the vault.
Yeah, and this is the big scoring event for Stanford. Nice execution. Their first vaulter, Ryan Lieberman, did a great job. This vault has great technique, a double twister really high and far, and he lands cleanly. Now, it's not the most difficult vault. It starts from a 6.2 start value, but execution-wise, it's superb. Oklahoma had the highest start values on vault, but didn't deliver there.
Go to the high bar, Nick Blair. Nice job.
Boy, Cal has just had a fantastic meet today. They are doing extremely well, and it's so good to see that team as healthy as they can be at the end of the year. Tim McNeil has done just a fabulous job with the Cal Bears.
Ian Jackson now, Oklahoma on the rings. So the Sooners closing up with an apparatus that they're ranked 3rd in the country.
They're going to have to be perfect here and hope that Stanford struggles a little on vault, because the differential between these two teams is about 2 points. And typically, Stanford scores about 4 points higher on vault than Oklahoma does on rings. This is going to be close. And we saw Jackson struggle on his vault. He fell. And a big disappointment for the Sooners. This looks good, though. Good finish.
Ian Jackson of Oklahoma. Oklahoma opening up the sixth rotation in second place. As we take another look at Ian Jackson.
Nice double back with 1.5 twist. And here's a young man who's finished with his undergraduate work. He's working on his graduate work and still competing for the Sooners.
C.J. Padera of Illinois.
Tyler Mizuguchi. Who is a very strong all-arounder, but this is an event where he has struggled a little bit. We see his form break early. He doesn't have long arms like some of these other gymnasts, so he can't swing quite as high over the horse as some of the other athletes. And he is fighting his way. I tell you, that's the one thing about this young man, is he just grits it the entire way. He's not giving up, ever.
Did you say about 40 seconds up there? It seems like an eternity, doesn't it?
It sure does. And, man, when you're up there, your arms feel like concrete weights because you get tired about 20 seconds into that routine.
Go back to the rings now. Troy Nitsky, he won the rings title against Minnesota this year with a 15.35 back on January 29th.
It's very good on this event. Extremely good.
Ranked number 9 in the country.
I just love his body line and his clean execution all the way through to his toe point. And look at the strength. Perfect position in those cross positions. And Yamawaki up to a plunge. Look at his extension throughout. Very nice swing work. He's got the combination of swing and strength. Not many gymnasts do. Nice. And a great finish.
Here comes Josh Dixon now on the vault.
Excellent. Half on, 1.5 off. Stanford looking good over here. They're not taking any unnecessary risks. Half on. Very nice execution. 1.5 off. Hop on the landing, but otherwise great clean form and execution throughout.
Dixon coming off a 16.0 at the MPSF Championships. He's ranked number 8 in the country.
Sometimes he goes for a more difficult vault, but that was the good call at this moment.
Del Castillo back on the high bar for Cal. High bar.
A little struggle there. I mentioned all these athletes dealing with injuries throughout the year. He had a problem with his wrist. 3 cysts grew on his wrist, and that caused him some pain. And so he's had an injection recently, which relieved the pain. But he wasn't able to do the kind of repetition that he normally does throughout the season. Big dismount, layout double-double.
Back to the rings with Oklahoma, Steve Legendre. His high score on the rings, 15-4 against Ohio State this year. That was back at the Lloyd Noble Center in Norman, Oklahoma.
Nice control throughout. Another gymnast who hangs just a little too long. He's waiting for the rings to swing on the right half of the arc so that when he does a swinging movement, he doesn't pick up more swing. So gymnasts know when to wait for the swing in the rings to set themselves up to freeze it in a solid handstand. He struggles sometimes at the end of his routine. He has slipped off several times in the past. And a triple back. He went for a triple. Unbelievable. He did not do rings in the qualifying round yesterday because he's been struggling with a forearm injury, but he cut a triple in the final here.
Now they need some points. Speaking of points, Stanford has racked up a few on this apparatus. Here's Alex Buscaglia on the vault. Their high score this year on the vault, 64.25. They obviously don't need that here tonight, Bart.
They don't, but their scores have been good. You saw Dixon 16.0, Lieberman 15.85, Romani 15.95.
Buscaglia 16.4 at Nebraska. That's his high this year.
Oh, and he went for the more difficult vault. Half on, layout, double front off. Outstanding.
Well, he's a senior. He wants to go out with a bang.
Some of the others went more conservative, but that was the type of vault that he's capable of doing. Great technique onto the vaulting table, and boy, did he just dig through that landing.
Stanford racking up some points on the vault. We'll be back to wrap up the national championship in Columbus after this. Back in Columbus, Illinois, opening up the sixth rotation on top of the leaderboard. Here's Daniel Ribeiro. How good is this young man?
Oh, my goodness. He's world-class on this event. He has such great extension. Look how high he is above the horse. He does extremely high level of difficulty throughout. I mentioned earlier, a 14 is good on horse, a 15 is fantastic, and he's always right there, just about topping out at 16 points.
Yeah, he won the national championship 2 years ago as a sophomore with a 16.0.
Oh, look at that. You talk about difficulty. That is sweet. What a day for the Fighting Illini. They had, start to finish, a fabulous meet.
Daniel Ribeiro, the senior, top 3 scores on the horse for the Fighting Illini this year.
Look at this extension. Travels all the way down the horse, using the leather, up to the pommels, and then back down to the leather. So aggressive throughout. Every time you stay on the pommel for a long time, you can just know that they're banking a lot of bonus points.
Alex Nador on the rings for Oklahoma. Mentioned earlier, 14 individual career titles, 6 this year for the Sooners. Only a sophomore from Gilbert, Arizona.
All right. Gentry on the vault. This is a big handspring double front. Oh, stop it. Oh, my goodness. How about that for the senior co-captain? Sticking a huge ball.
Gentry scored in the 16s 3 times this year on the vault. There's Nador with his dismount on the rings.
Stanford in charge on vault. Let's take a look at that handspring double front from Gentry. We've seen him do this often. A little bit sloppy on form, but look at that. Just drilled it.
Let's go back over to the high bar with Glenn Ashina of Cal.
This could be a highlight. This young man can really swing. Watch how aggressive he is. Beautiful Kovacs. You see the rhythm and the smooth swing that he develops. Great body line. This is world class. So unlucky that he has struggled this year. Now it's this event where his handguard broke and he slipped off getting ready for a dismount. Oh, such a shame he missed that. This is where he slipped off and severely affecting his back. And that left him with a ruptured disc. So unfortunate way to finish for Glenn Iachino there.
You talk about Cal fighting for the program since 1996. They've qualified for the NCAA finals every year except once. Back to the rings, Jacob Dalton.
This will be the final Sooner here. Oklahoma's scores have ranged from Lazandra's 14-8, Nadora 14-4, up to Nitsky's high of 15-3. Dalton's capable of a very good score here, but I don't think the Sooners have enough for the Stanford Cardinal today. Stanford will have one final vaulter, and that's Eddie Penev, one of the best in the country.
You mentioned Dalton. #1 on the parallel bars, #1 on the vaults, #2 on the floor, #4 on the high bar. The rings, the only apparatus he's not ranked in.
Remember that name, though. We'll see him in the World Championships and likely the Olympics next year, Dalton.
Eddie Penev, as you mentioned, wrapping things up on the vault now for the Stanford Cardinal.
Now, Penev actually fell yesterday. He does a very difficult vault.
Flip to your face, let's go.
High score this year, 16.3 in the second meet, so that was a long time ago.
Gentry had a 16.25. And again, almost exactly the same as what happened yesterday. But Stanford has enough points in the bag, even without that performance, that they're going to win this one. That's unlucky. He went for a really difficult ball. Half on, layout, double full off.
You talked about the injury he had. He's only competed on the vault twice this year for Stanford.
He said he was ready to go, but his coach admitted that he just hasn't been able to do the repetitions to be consistant.
Well, a sophomore, a two-time All-American, and the national champion as a true freshman on the vault last year for Stanford. The Cardinal, national champs in 2009, a second-place finish at West Point last year, and Bart, they climbed back to the top of the mountain. The Cardinals are your champions in 2011. When we come back, we'll rack up the points, see who finished second and third. Welcome back to Columbus, where the Stanford Cardinal crowned the 2011 NCAA men's gymnastics champions. They opened the season ranked #1, and Tom Gleelme, the head coach, said winning the national title was their ultimate goal. The final score, 363.45. Oklahoma finishes second with a 361.6. On that note, let's send it down to Bart Connor, standing by with the victorious coach and his Stanford Cardinal.
Congratulations, Tom, and the Stanford Cardinal. What a great effort. Pommel horse was a little shaky, so you got off to a little bit of a challenge.
We had 5 hits on horse. Our top guy had a little bit of a blunder, but, you know, it's a team sport, and we put 4 good routines together, so overall very pleased.
You know, you won the conference championship, and every time you've won the conference championship, you followed it up with the national title. And this year you have 6 seniors on the team. How meaningful is that?
It's great. It's a very special class. When they came in, it was just one of those dynamic classes that are come by very, very rarely. And we were second their freshman year, first their sophomore year, second last year, and then again first this year. So they've done a great job. They really led this team, and it's just been a great time.
Did you know from the beginning you could beat Oklahoma if you did what you could do?
Yeah. You know, we back in November, we had so much depth and difficulty. We knew nobody was going to touch us, but we had some injuries and trying to get guys back in, and we knew we had the Stallions in the stable, so, you know, no worries.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
And Tim, congratulations to you as a co-captain. Boy, you nailed a big vault when the team needed it. How meaningful is this to you to finish your season with something like this?
It's incredibly meaningful. The first thing I'd like to say is that it's not an individual effort. It was a collective effort. Everybody on this team contributed to this title, and we're going to be a part of this for years to come.
Congratulations, you all.
Thank you, Bart. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Bart, you told us at the top of the broadcast that Stanford finishing on the vault would be very, very key. They were #1 On the vaults, their season high was 64.25. They saved their best for last, 64.55 on the vault. And what a freshman season it's been for Sam McCulick of the Michigan Wolverines. He won the Big Ten Freshman of the Year, the Big Ten Gymnast of the Year, and he's your all-round champion here in 2011. Just edging out Tyler Mizuguchi of Illinois. McCulick's score of 90.75. Congratulations to the Stanford Cardinal, crowned 2011 champions. Men's gymnastics, the preceding has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Bart Connor and our entire ESPN 2 crew, I'm Mike Gleason saying so long from Columbus, Ohio. The Stanford Cardinal are your 2011 NCAA